Hello and welcome to my channel. Today I'm going to be doing a reading wrap up for September. I posted a TBR for autumn a couple of weeks ago and I've been trying to get through as many of the books as I can on that TBR over the last few weeks. I do tend to consume books most frequently via audiobook. I've been trying to sort of get into reading more physical books and ebooks, but I have to say 3 of the 4 books I finished this month were audiobooks. And the first one was Early Riser by Jasper Fforde. Now, Jasper Fforde is one of my favourite authors. I love the Thursday Next series, which is about a detective who can jump into books. I love the standalone or possibly first book of a series that hasn't continued yet, called Shades of Grey, not to be confused with the other one. Which is about a kind of dystopian world where people are split into classes by which part of the colour spectrum they can see. But despite being dystopian, it's a very funny book. All of Jasper Fforde's books, even if they are in these kind of dystopian worlds, they're very funny. Early Riser is another slightly dystopian one, where it's set in a version of Britain where winters are unlivable and people hibernate through these long freezing cold winters. But something occurs in sleep that sometimes makes people die and turn into zombies. That's about as far as a synopsis I can give, because as I said in my autumn TBR, I was in the middle of listening to it then. I did not fully follow the plot of this book, why everything was happening, how it all fit together. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the storytelling. I enjoyed the narration. But it just didn't fully make sense to me, and I think that's probably a failing with me rather than the writing, but I definitely want to give it another go, either re-listen or read a physical copy or an ebook of it. I enjoyed it, I just didn't fully follow it. And then after that one, there was a book that many people have read in September, and it is Lethal White by Robert Galbraith. Again, listen to it on audiobook, which is why I've got a screenshot there. I loved it. I think my kind of response to all the Cormoran Strike books is pretty much the same. I enjoy the mystery, I enjoy all the new characters who come in. The characters is really a strength of J.K. Rowling's writings, I have to say. And they're brilliant in this book. But to be honest, the thing I'm most interested in is Cormoran and Robin and their relationship. And is it going to develop? Are they going to get together? When's it going to happen? I will say no more lest I spoil it. There was, a certain amount of progress. I could have done with more progress, but I think J.K. Rowling's going to string this one out over the next 10 books or so, probably. But I'm going to devour every single one of them. I mean, the only bad thing about having read Lethal White, finished it, is that I want the next one now, and who knows when it's going to come out. But yeah, absolutely loved it. And then I had started reading one of the ebooks on my TBR, which is The Nothing Girl by Jodi Taylor. And I was thinking, I think I'd rather listen to this on audiobook. And at that moment, an email pinged through from Amazon, from Audible, saying that they had a 2 books for 1 credit sale on. And so what was in that 2 books for 1 credit sale but The Nothing Girl by Jodi Taylor? I have to try and angle it so I don't get the glare. So I got the audiobook of it and I listened to that on audio when I finished Lethal White, and I really loved this. I really became very immersed and emotionally involved in the book, which is something I often do to my detriment. But it's a story about, we meet the main character Jenny when she's 13 and she is having an awful life and she is about to take her own life, but she is saved by a magical golden horse who comes and tells her not to do it, basically, and he becomes her kind of imaginary friend, but it is written like he's a real person. He actually exists, he's there, it's just that only Jenny can see him. And the story moves on to when she's 27 or 28, I think, and she's basically lived her whole life with her aunt and uncle. Her parents died, left her a huge amount of money, which is in the control of her aunt and uncle, and they've basically kept her confined to the house, not let her have a proper life. And so when she's in her late 20s, she has the opportunity to marry a man called Russell who owns a stately home, but he has no money to repair it. So he gets her money and she gets to escape her aunt and uncle. It's like a marriage of convenience. And so the story goes through like how she deals with the marriage and so on, but also how she finds herself having these near-death accidents or incidents that happen that threaten her life, and she figures out that someone's trying to kill her, and she has to kind of figure out, well, who is that? Because it could be anyone in her surrounding area. So that's the kind of mystery of the plot. But what I just really loved is the characters. Jenny and Russell are wonderful characters. Jenny and Thomas, who is the magical horse, their friendship is so beautiful. It actually moved me to tears at one point. And the character of Jenny reminded me a little bit of Eleanor Oliphant from Eleanor Oliphant is Completely Fine by Gail Honeyman. But with that book, with Eleanor Oliphant, I found the characterization of Eleanor brilliant and absolutely riveting and relatable. But the storyline of things that actually happened to her was some of them so unbelievable that I actually was angered by them at some point. With The Nothing Girl, even though it has this magical element of a golden horse, I found the whole thing a lot more believable. And I definitely recommend it if you're a fan of Eleanor Oliphant as a character. I think you could really connect with Jenny as well, because she was brought up in such a confined, sheltered way by her aunt and uncle. She has a lot of the kind of social lack of social skills that Eleanor Oliphant did, but I prefer The Nothing Girl, and I definitely want to read the next book in the series, which is called The Something Girl. But I didn't want to go straight onto it because, as I said, I became very emotionally involved in the book and I needed to kind of take a breather. But there is also on Audible, I think, a short story called Little Donkey, I think it's called, which seems to be set at Christmas in the same, with the same characters. So I think I might listen to that at Christmas time, because I'm planning on having a whole TBR for December of Christmassy books. So I look forward to that one. So those are all the audiobooks that I finished. I actually did finish a physical book, and I find it. It's here. It's this one. The Day of the Doctor by Stephen Moffat. I've been trying to read a couple of Doctor Who books before Doctor Who comes back on the 7th of October, which I cannot wait for. This is the novelisation of the 50th anniversary episode of Doctor Who, and it's brilliant. It's just brilliant. If you're familiar with Stephen Moffat's writing, it's everything that we love from Stephen Moffat. I know a lot of people don't love his writing, so they definitely won't enjoy this, but if you love his writing, you will love this. It is timey-wimey, it is witty, it is full of Doctor Who in-jokes and references that will make you smirk. And it has this narrator who, it sort of slowly becomes clear over the course of the book who the narrator is, but it sort of reminds me of Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy a little bit, in the way that the book is the narrator of Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. Yeah, I really recommend this for Doctor Who fans, not for non-Doctor Who fans. Obviously, just watch the show and get into it that way. So those are all the books I finished, but as September ended, am in the middle of a couple of other books. When I finished the Nothing Girl audiobook, I moved on to the other book that I had bought as part of the 2 books for 1 credit, and that is The Blind Watchmaker by Richard Dawkins. This is a science book, it's non-fiction, and it is a book about evolution, the evidence for evolution, particularly evolution by the natural selection, which is the theory that was simultaneously sort of developed by Charles Darwin and Alfred Russel Wallace in the 19th century. And I really enjoy Richard Dawkins' writing. He is an expert on evolution, and I find evolution a really fascinating topic, so I am enjoying that one a lot. And the physical book that I am in the middle of, or was as September ended and still am, is this one, Twice Upon a Time by Paul Cornell. It's the novelisation of the most recent Doctor Who episode, so it was the Christmas episode of 2017. And it's an episode where the 12th Doctor and the 1st Doctor meet up. They're both at the verge of regeneration, but both are trying to stop their regeneration, and it's how they kind of come to grips to the fact that they are going to change yet still live on. And of course, that meant that Peter Capaldi regenerated into Jodie Whittaker, and we are so close to seeing Jodie. And it is, for a Doctor Who fan like me, I think this is one of the most exciting times to be a Doctor Who fan. The first female Doctor Who, and such a brilliant one. I can't wait. But anyway, that's a topic for another video. I hope you've enjoyed this video. Let me know in the comments down below if you've read any of these books, or if you're reading anything else. What are you reading? Let's have a chat. And please do like, comment and subscribe and all of those things, and I will talk to you again in my next video.